Hi, this is Teresa Brown with the Silk Thread, and you have just walked into my studio. So today I'm going to use my eco-printed leather, and we're going to create some leather earrings. Let's get started. There are a lot of designs that you can do this with. Even though this is turned like a flower petal, I could also put the attachment in the other end and turn it upside down like a teardrop. So I'm going to show you how to do this one first and then the other one. Let me show the tools that you need and lay them out here so it'll be easier to look at. First of all, you're going to need your leather. This is kid skin, and as you can see, it is printed on both sides using my eco-print method. The advantage of doing these little designs is you can incorporate one within your pattern. Otherwise, you're going to wind up just using a big section like this. And although the back doesn't have to be done, if you can find a section, I didn't do all of this, it looks really good. Here is an example of a heavier leather. And it's been printed on both sides. One side was much lighter. I haven't quite decided if I'm going to do this. I'm probably going to do it like this. It just hangs down, but you can see the sunflower that I printed came out. The other one was a little bit different. But same thing, they're equal on both sides. So both sides have a pattern. So you need to choose what leather. Again, this is kid skin, this is heavier. Regardless, you're going to need something to cut them out with. Here are several cutting instruments. Obviously, we have our scissors. We have an X-Acto knife, and I also have a Micron pen, which is permanent, but this is 0.1, so it makes a very tiny line when you are drawing on your leather or even on your paper. You can do this with heavyweight paper. This is an old pair that I grabbed. X-Acto knife works well for me. I finally broke down and used my sewing scissors. They do an excellent job. You're going to need the fittings, and these can be found in these nifty little kits on Amazon. And I will tell you that this tiny little doohickey ring is designed to put the edge of these into it. And you will find that it's invaluable when you're trying to open one of those little rings. You can buy little sets like this. And again, they're all over Amazon. So you do want to make sure this is pretty much all you need, the rings and the earring inserts themselves. Something else that often comes with the kits are these nifty little plastic templates. You don't necessarily need them because we're cutting by hand. We're not using a Cricut machine or any computer generated thing. So you can do what you want. So I did use a couple of these, which are kind of nice, but you can always draw out your pattern and then cut it out and then use that to trace around on your piece of leather. You can also get a piece of paper. This is heavier stock, fold it in half, draw your design, and cut it out. This is a quick and easy way to get matching designs on both sides. Use whatever template you have and draw your design using the micro pen onto your leather. If you use the X-Acto knife, just be careful. I've started it here, pulling it up, and I'm going to continue around right on the line, and it's important to keep a continual movement. I often have this smaller cutting board underneath. Let me get back in the frame so I can be turning that rather than, let me just do this for a second. This is a thinner kid skin. There we go. So start in some area, watch your fingers, and continue to follow your line all the way around. Because it's kid skin, I'll show you this. It doesn't, by the way, tear like a paper, something what it's not fabric. I'll finish this one. I chose this. I'm going to continue cutting around, applying pressure. Make sure you have a bunch of new blades So here you see I have something on both sides. So the other one is here. This one I'll use scissors. There is a difference. I imagine if you're going to do bunches of these, you may decide to use some sort of machine that cuts them out. But in my case, I just kind of like playing with them. So here I'm going to cut this one out, and then you will see how both of them look, and we will put them together. So I've cut out my two pendants, and the fittings are going to go at the top. So there's two ways to put a hole in. This is the easy way. If you don't have the tools, you just stick a hole in the end, right where you want it. You go back here and twist it to make a hole. I happen to have a leather punch, and the only reason I like this is because I don't have to struggle to find the hole later. So I just put this on top, and there's my hole. You can see it better this way, I think. Okay, so over here, same thing. I don't want to put a hole in that. And for demo purposes, this just makes a bigger hole, so when I'm showing you how to put the attachments, you can see it. So there we have the two holes. All of the kits come with these nifty little pliers. What they do, and I'll pick one up here, I started it. So they give you a grip on these tiny little pieces. And I started to pull this one apart. So that's what this is for. You can put them in, you can put them out, if you can see that. And that's how you open these up. You don't want to pull them apart. So it makes it so it's easy enough, just adjust this, to slide in to your leather hole. Take your other fitting, the actual earring part, slide that on. Now you may be able to use your hands. Half the time I find this a whole lot easier. Pull it back. Sometimes you may have to squeeze this just slightly, but not too much. And there is one at the moment. Take the other one. Do the same thing, pick it up, get hold of it, stick it in this little thing, open it up. Biggest thing is to remember to put this in the hole. Oops. I'm going to go in there. And then put this one at the same time. I want to make sure they're kind of the right direction. Come back with this and twist them back so that they are. And I move this around just a little bit. So what we have are, I'm going to put it right here so you can see a little bit better, your true earrings, front and back. Kind of neater thing that I can here. So you can cut a smaller one out if I chose, in a different pattern, and hang it on top, one after the other. Let's see if we can do that. So what happens if I want to embellish these a little? Well, on another piece of leather, I cut out these two smaller pieces, and I'm going to put them here. So what I'm going to do, since I already did these, is come back, and all I'm going to do is add holes here and here, and then I'm going to undo that, slide it through, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. And here I have added a second piece just to embellish it, because I thought it would look kind of nice. So the sky is kind of the limit as to what you want to do as far as design and pattern. So don't get discouraged when you're doing these. It just takes a little practice. that's all. So here's a few more examples that I did. So I think by the time I edit this, it won't be too long. This is another set, and I'll show you how to make these because they're actually kind of quick and easy in terms of cutting something out of leather. So here's a heavier piece of scrap leather, and I made a pocketbook out of this, and this is what I had left over. Now, on the front, there's kind of a shiny sheen, and I used this satin sheen, which is a leather finish. And this is kind of nice. I could also use it on the back side, what they call the flesh side. This is the grain side. So what I'm going to do here is pretty simple. It's a great design on both sides. So I am going to fold this over like so. I'm going to take my scissors and cut. This is thick, so it takes a second through that. I'm going to come over here and basically a big triangle or a diamond. I guess I could make this not quite as... The fun thing is it's yours, so you can pretty much do what you want with it. I should have thought about that as I was cutting it. Anyway, let's make it easy. I'll just cut that off. All right, it's going to be a triangle. So when I open this up, and I can come in here and trim this, I can choose to have either side on the outside. Now, there's several ways to finish off this edge too, by the way, if it gets really thick. And let me find a thinner, I'll show you why we're doing this, thinner pair of scissors. So we can get that off. There we go. Not to get an entire leather working, but I could smooth this down by using my little burnisher and spending a lot of time here. I do have to wet this down, and there is a product that I can use for that when I wet it. And that'll smooth the edges. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I think I'm going to do it so this is showing... No, let's do it this way. Okay, to do the second piece, I'm just going to open this up, lay it on top of... Stay in the frame here. I think I'm going to do it down here, so I can use it again if I want to. And I am going to trace this. Keeping it still. One layer is a lot easier to cut than two. I do have heavier knives and such when I'm working the really heavy leathers. Forgive the squeaking of my scissors. I should oil them. I have plenty of oil. Okay, so we're back to two pieces. Even though they're a little off, doesn't matter, we're going to match them. So I am simply going to fold this over, and this is where the heavier hole punch comes in really handy. Hole punch, hammer, and I have not quite made it through the other side. When that happens, you flick it over, make sure you make a mark. You can see it right there. There. Same thing here. I guess in this case I may go ahead and make this here. Fold it over. Make sure it matches on the other side. There's my mark. There's my whack. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to attach my rings and then the rest of my earring. I'll show you. And there you have two of the easier ones to make. Put it behind this white and see if you can see these. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thank you.